Hello everyone, welcome to Inconvenient Truths. I'm your host, Jennifer Zheng. On July 4th, America's Independence Day, President Trump signed the historic One Big Beautiful Bill Act. This bill has sparked a ton of controversy, so much so that it even pushed Elon Musk, who once said he was all in on backing Trump, to start his own New America Party. Everyone seems to have an opinion about this bill. But for some analysts who've been watching China closely, this bill signing marks the start of a showdown between the US and the CCP. Some even say that in the end, only one can survive, either the US or the CCP. Why do they say that? Today, we are diving into this question. This bill is super long, covers a lot of ground, and is bound to have a massive impact. But for now, we are focusing on the parts related to China. First of all, while this bill mainly focuses on U.S. domestic policies, it's also a key piece of legislation to achieve Trump's national strategy, and it's got other goals too. Specifically, it uses huge military investments and targeted economic restrictions to go straight at communist countries, especially by boosting military presence in the Indo-Pacific region. The funding list in Title II of the bill is like a custom-made shopping list for weapons designed to prepare for high-level conflicts with the CCP. The way the money is allocated shows the U.S. Department of Defense's strategy, which names communist countries as America's main challenger in the future. The bill sets aside billions of dollars for a project in the Indo-Pacific theater to boost the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command's fighting power. This includes military exercises in the Western Pacific, offensive cyber operations, U.S. space awareness capabilities, and building critical military facilities. The goal is clear: to strengthen the U.S. military presence and toughness in the first island chain and the second island chain. For example, the Guam Defense System project is all about making forward bases like Guam tougher against missile strikes from communist forces. Plus, the bill plans to reshape the U.S. Navy and its shipbuilding. It authorizes $4.6 billion to prepare for buying a second Virginia-class attack submarine in 2026. On top of that, $5.4 billion is set aside to buy 2 missile destroyers. The bill also invests heavily in developing unmanned surface and underwater combat platforms. Reports from the Center for Strategic and International Studies and RAND keep stressing that underwater capabilities like Virginia-class nuclear subs will give the U.S. a major edge against the People's Liberation Army Navy in any future Taiwan Strait of conflict. The third point is that to boost the U.S. military's long-range strike and deterrence abilities, the bill allocates billions for developing long-range anti-ship missiles, heavy torpedoes, air-launched anti-radiation missiles, and hypersonic missile projects. Military experts say that if the CCP plans to attack Taiwan, the first move would be to block or delay outside forces like the U.S. military from getting near Taiwan, especially within the first island chain. This blocking tactic is called anti-access area denial, A2AD in military terms. The funding for long-range strike capabilities is meant to help the U.S. break through and destroy the CCP's A2AD system. Another big military funding item in the bill is $4.5 billion to ramp up production of the B-21 Raider stealth strategic bomber and $2.5 billion for the Sentinel intercontinental ballistic missile project. Think tanks like the American Enterprise Institute say the CCP is rapidly expanding China's nuclear arsenal. To encounter this, the U.S. needs a bigger, more advanced B-21 fleet to deter both the CCP and Russia effectively and ensure it can hit China's nuclear targets. Some China experts say the military funding in this bill isn't just about money. It's a strategic signal. It tells the CCP loud and clear that the U.S. is getting ready at the legislative level for a potential high-end military conflict. The bill keeps emphasizing shipbuilding and ammunition and key mineral as part of the defense industry's foundation. This shows a deeper strategy. The U.S. doesn't just want to deter the CCP with current weapons. It wants to build a lasting advantage in producing and maintaining those systems. That way, the U.S. can handle a long-term war of attrition if it comes to that. If military funding shows America's hard power, the bill's prohibited foreign entity framework for taxes and energy is the core legal tool for its economic warfare and supply chain reshaping strategy. To define prohibited foreign entity, the bill sets up 3 levels of legal definitions. The first level is the covered nation concept, which clearly includes the People's Republic of China. The second level is specified foreign entity SFE, which covers entities like Chinese military companies listed in the U.S. Department of Defense 2021 National Defense Authorization Act, plus any entities controlled by the Chinese government or its citizens. The third level is foreign influenced entity, FIE, which is super broad and a bit vague. Any entity where a single FSE owns 25% of the shares or multiple SFEs owns 40%, or an SLE holds 15% of its debt, or an FSE can appoint senior officials could be labeled an FIE. The bill also includes the term effective control, meaning if an SFE has major influence over a company's operations through contracts or licensing deals, that company is also an FIE. The bill ties this 3-level framework to valuable clean energy tax credits. Both SFEs and FIEs are considered prohibited foreign entities for these credits. The rules are clear. If a taxpayer is a prohibited entity or their project, gets significant help from one, they lose eligibility for these tax credits. This strict rule turns U.S. tax law into a tool to push American industrial policy and cut ties with the CCP's supply chain. These rules make it economically tough for American people or companies to work with Chinese entities. The bill forces businesses that want to benefit from U.S. clean energy policies to completely clean their supply chains by cutting out Chinese tech, capital, and products. This uses taxes to challenge the CCP's global dominance in things like solar panels, power batteries, and critical mineral processing, speeding up the reshaping of global supply chains. This chilling effect could go way beyond the energy sector, deeply impacting business and tech cooperation between the U.S. and China in all sorts of fields. Although this bill scraps a rule that's been around since the Nixon-Era. Under that old rule, Americans investing in China or earning interest there, basically wealth parked in China, didn't have to pay U.S. taxes. That tax break is now gone. Plus, within a certain time frame, if Americans don't move their massive wealth out of China or proactively pay taxes on it, they'll face penalties. This bill is crucial for America's economy and national interests. It's also a direct countermeasure to stop the CCP from basically stealing American wealth to boost its own economy. From all this, you can see why the CCP has been loudly criticizing this one big beautiful bill aimed at U.S. domestic policy. Even before the bill was fully passed, Chinese state media like Xinhua, People's Daily, Global Times, Security Times, and even Phoenix News were reporting on it like crazy, almost like they care more about U.S. affairs than China's. But their headlines were all about U.S. Congress to pass Rob the Poor to help the rich bill, Republican contradictions and deficit worries, Democratic lawmakers' opposition speeches, or 8 hours and 46 minutes to record-breaking debate. Words like deficit, robbing the poor, political division, marathon debates, and lawmakers switching sides were all over the reports. But they never mentioned the parts of the bill related to China or U.S.-China relations. Some super active Chinese social media accounts have also been attacking this bill very hard. Some Chinese experts believe this bill strikes at 6 major arteries: industrial chains, capital flows, energy chains, tax systems, supply chains, and credit systems, all at once. It effectively shuts down the international profit system that has slowly nurtured the CCP's rise. They say it marks the moment the U.S. finally wakes up from physical illusions, industrial hollowing out, financial manipulation, and geopolitical self-sabotage. Now, the U.S. is launching a serious, systematic, full government, whole society mobilization for a strategic reboot. The goal is to eliminate the so-called cost advantages the CCP has built over the past decades through subsidies, tax avoidance, and ultra-low energy consumption efficiency, redefining them as politically illegitimate gains. The bill may not be perfect. It's aggressive, and the level of debt is alarming. But the message is loud and clear. The U.S. is done drifting. It's ready to take action. Other experts look at the economics, say the bill shows a desperate wish to bring in manufacturing back to the U.S. If it can really spark an economic boom and bring high-end manufacturing back, generating tons of tax revenues, it could offset the tax cuts in the bill. So over the next decade, this bill could become the blueprint for America's fiscal balance. Tax cuts and spending cuts will become the new political rules. Next, Trump has one big thing left to do, the tariff war. And in the tariff war, his real enemy is just the CCP. Back in 2018, during his first term, Trump kicked off a trade war with China. In 2025, during his second term, whether he can truly defeat the CCP is the only question mark for whether high-end manufacturing will return to the U.S. Beat the CCP, and high-end manufacturing will definitely come back. The Republican Party would then have a possibility to stay in power for at least 20 years. But if Trump can't beat the CCP, high-end manufacturing won't return on a large scale, and the one big beautiful bill will become a joke. The bill's tax cut without spending cut problem will blow up. The U.S. federal budget could actually go bankrupt with no one to save it. Trump would go down in history as a failure, unforgivable, and his whole family would be pinned to history's wall of shame. This expert says, in this sense, the passing of the one big beautiful bill is actually a catalyst, forcing Trump to defeat the CCP. Before, Trump might have gone easy on China, leaving it a way out. But now that the bill is passed, there's only one outcome for the U.S. and the CCP. One lives, the other dies. And the loser has to die fast for the winner to live. As for the final answer, who lives and who dies, you can bet your life on it. Of course, he said this to his Chinese audience, so maybe it's a bit extreme, but that's the conclusion he reached. On the issue of the bill's massive spending, which has sparked a lot of debate, one Chinese netizen put it this way. If America's communist forces and satanic enemies can't be cleared out from within the U.S. and Western society, and if Trump can't score a decisive victory against communism and the CCP, then cutting spending or clearing U.S. debt is pointless. All of America's current budget cuts and debt cleanup would just be handing benefits to the CCP, like how the Chinese nationalist government's victories in the war against Japan were stolen by the CCP. Without a total win against the communist cult, any budget cuts are meaningless. Musk's America Party would only make sense pushing for budget cuts and debt cleanup after Trump defeats the satanic communist cult. Do you agree with this take? Well, that's all for today. But before you go, I'd like to recommend a great product. that can really help improve your eye health, especially if you spend more than 6 hours a day looking at your phone or computer. This is called WiseQuest eye patches, and here is a short video about it.
Eyes feel blurry and tired around 3 p.m. every day. This might not just be fatigue, sa mai ko pomitiachi war isai, duvobaro sai, iso ora akudwi kim elevated eye pressure, voti choki, baror. Staring at screens for hours causes poor blood circulation and muscle stiffness in your eyes. I use WiseQuest herbal patches after work. The Beesword Beef Ardor Insuai. The borneol and licorice ingredients help relieve pressure, reduce redness, and improve blood flow. After a few days, my eyes feel lighter, less congested, and stay focused longer.
Well, thanks again for watching. I'll include the purchase link for the eye patches in the comments or description box. I truly appreciate your support. Thank you. See you next time.